Joining me now to talk about this further, we have Ahmet Sözen, who is the director of the Cyprus Policy Centre based in northern Cyprus, and Konstantinos Travlos, an assistant professor of international relations at the Özyen University. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us on Straight Talk. Konstantinos, I'm going to start with you. Tensions surrounding this issue have been bubbling away now since the 1970s. The current mission for the Fatih is not drilling in any of these contested waters. Why is this operation still considered a little bit provocative?
Well, you have to understand that the Greek view over the maritime issues, both in the Aegean and in the Cyprus region, is tied to the idea of sovereignty. And the Greek view is that Turkey, the Turkish Republic, and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus as a part of the whole story is essentially questioning Greek sovereignty. In the case of the Western Aegean, the sovereignty of the Greek state. In the case of Cyprus, the sovereignty of the UN-recognized Republic of Cyprus. And that this is a story that is going back to 1913. And the refusal of the Ottoman Empire to recognize the ceding of the Aegean islands to Greece after the Balkan War. So it's considered as a continuous challenge. And that's why there is a lot of worry and anger over it.
So a continuous challenge. But Ahmet, if I can ask you, how provocative is this move? And is it likely that this current mission by the Fatih could spark a showdown that maybe we've been on the brink of for quite some time?
Well, it's interesting that whenever there was a problem between Greece and Turkey, it was usually the foreign ministers who would make the public statements regarding the issue. This time around, it was the Minister of Defense in Turkey, it was like the Minister of War, who made the statement, which I think show that Turkey is serious in terms of not letting any Greek army to harass any of the exploratory drilling. So,
and is that interpreted as being quite provocative on the Cyprus side?
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, this shows the seriousness. This shows the kind of the firm stance that Turkey has on this, and I think that the messages have been received. Personally, I do not really expect a clash between Greek and Turkish armies in this case. We have seen much worse cases in the past, by the way, between Greece and Turkey, where they came to the brink of war, especially on the Imia-Kardak crisis back in the 1990s. So, but I think that the common sense on both sides will prevail, and we are not going to hit to a wall.
You're nodding very vigorously there, Konstantinos. Do you agree?
Yes, I don't think necessarily that we're going to have an escalation in this case. But the problem is that Greece and Turkey are a dangerous dyad. We are in a situation of lesser rivalry, which means we are in a condition where, on average, we have a higher chance of seeing militarized disputes, and those militarized disputes escalating, God forbid, one day to war. So while this current crisis will not necessarily escalate, it's important for both sides to understand that we have to manage this relationship carefully.
All right, well, let's talk about how then, because both countries, Turkey and Greece, have been struggling a little bit economically. So it's not as if either side is going to back down and say, help yourself to all these valuable hydrocarbons. So how do you see them coming to some sort of agreement?
Okay, so an easy move on the part of the Turkish government will be to get rid of the casus belli over the extension of the Greek maritime waters to 12 nautical miles. And Turkey still can say, we don't think that such an extension would be a good idea. We'll rather negotiate over it. But there's no casus belli anymore. We're not going to go automatically to war. So that will be a powerful symbolic move that will provide an opening for later other symbolic moves, and down the way for more concrete moves on both sides that could transform this relationship from a lesser rivalry to a negative peace, and why not at some point a positive peace. That will be like a quick move. How easy it is, that's a big question. Other moves that can happen, decoupling the Cyprus issue from the Western Aegean issue, In Greece, the view is that the Western Aegean issue started because of the Cyprus issue. Like, before the Cyprus issue, Turkey had more or less accepted the status quo in the Aegean, especially during the times of the early Turkish Republic, of Atatürk's presidency, the Ankara Pact, and so on. But then Cyprus happened, and immediately after Cyprus happened, this whole discussion starts.
Actually, that leads me to a question I want to put to you then, Ahmet. What needs to happen first? Do we need to settle the Cyprus issue, the peace talks? Do they need to resume before we can settle these maritime disputes, or is it the other way around?
No, absolutely. Definitely, Cyprus would be a game changer. Definitely, the start should be on solving the Cyprus problem, because if the Cyprus problem is resolved, some of these issues that we are talking about today will become non-issues. They will become irrelevant. It will be much easier if the Cyprus problem is resolved for all the stakeholders, for all the parties to come together on the same table and negotiate their differences and come to a compromise on all these issues that are now issues which, in a way, nicely managed in the last maybe a decade or so between Greece and Turkey, by the way. So I think that we have the background and the common sense that they will remain in a manageable, let's say, conflictual situation. But I think that the key is to solve first the Cyprus problem, and then solving the other problems will be much easier.
We will see. Time will tell. This is definitely something that's not going to go away anytime soon. Ahmet Sözen and Konstantinos Travlos, thank you so much for being here on Straight Talk.